Hello and welcome to the Life Coaching on the Move podcast. I am Fiske, and each week I will discuss a different life subject that is relevant to each and every one of us. I will include thought-provoking experiences both from my own life and from the hundreds of people I've coached over the years. I will give you essential tips and strategies that you can use in your everyday lives in order to grow your inner confidence, achieve your goals, feel happier in life, have better relationships and social skills, and a much higher sense of self-esteem and worth. I'll be on your team, coaching and supporting you along the way, reminding you of what works and what to avoid. You can tap into the podcast wherever you are and whenever you feel it would help. And together we will keep you on track, focused, constantly moving forward and improving with much more determination, feeling the way you deserve to feel, and generally achieving overall increased happiness in your life. Welcome along. So, without any further hesitation, let's move on to this week's subject. Today, I'm focusing on improving your communication skills even further. It's a bit of an extension, really, of last week's episode. Last week, in case you didn't hear it, is all about how to improve your communication and your connections with people. And in particular, we were focusing on that through the means of building up rapport, building up connection with the person that you're trying to establish communication with. And by building up that rapport, your communication improves. So the two are linked. And we discussed that. So it's definitely worth visiting that if you haven't already. But this is now another approach to you communicating more confidently. Because let's face it, this is a confidence podcast. And so in previous episodes, we've looked at your communication skills in terms of using confident language, clear, strong, supportive language instead of weak, wishy-washy and diluted language. So we've done that. Last week, we looked at you improving your rapport and connection with the people that you're communicating with. So, two strings to your bow, but today we're going to add the icing on the cake. So if you focus on this, it'll put you up another level, which is always my aim. In fact, my strapline on my website is working with you to move you to your next level. And this will also support that. So what do you think we have missed out so far? We've covered your language. We've covered your connection. What do you feel so far now we have missed out? Is there anything that you can feel? If you improved on it in terms of your communication, what do you think would help? What do you think is the key to effective communication that we haven't yet covered? Bit of a tricky question. That's cruel, isn't it? How cruel am I? I'm just throwing you in at the deep end and asking you that question. Anyway, I don't know whether you came up with the right answer or not. That's the trickiness of these podcasts. The answer that I was looking for, if you got this right, give yourself a big pat on the back. If you didn't, there's no problem at all. Just listen on. But the answer I was looking for, the key to effective communication, I believe, is, and this is going to sound really strange to you, is good listening skills. Listening skills are fundamental in communication. They're fundamental in life, actually, and they're the thing that we need all the time, and yet it's the thing we're not taught. In fact, actually, if you think about it, we're taught how to speak. We're taught by our parents when we're a toddler how to say things. What colour's this? What's that? What's that four-legged animal over there? Yay, dog, etc. We're taught language, we're taught words, and we're taught how to speak. And if we struggle a little bit because we can't say our S's or we lisp or whatever, parents and loved ones will help us and give us a little bit of, guidance. Yet, the one thing we're not taught is how to listen. Then we get to school, and what's the classic line that the teacher says? Listen, children. And yet, so we're requested to do it all the time from a tiny, tiny age. and yet we're never actually taught it. It's assumed we know how to do it, and most of us are really poor at it. In fact, actually, I was going to ask you, where would you rate your listening skills? When I'm running a workshop, listening skills, as part of other workshops, so maybe if I'm doing sales techniques, if I'm training a group in sales, I will do a module on listening skills because it's fundamental. Equally, if I'm teaching managers coach the coach, how to coach their teams, if I'm teaching managers coaching skills, I'll also do a module on listening skills because it's a fundamental part of it. But actually, this is good for any of us in any areas. And as part of that module, I always ask the group, the delegates, where they would rate themselves in terms of their listening skills. Would they rate themselves as superior, excellent, above average, average, below average, poor, or terrible? So which of those, what would you say are your, at the moment, would you say are your, would best describe your listening skills? Superior, excellent, above average, average, below average, poor, or terrible? And I will guide you in most people overestimate their listening skills. Because they think they've been doing it all their life, they think it's fine, etc. But actually, when we take the module further, and there are certain things that I can't do on this podcast that I would do in the training, I put them through a series of tasks, and by the end of those tasks, they re-review where they thought their listening skills were, and they always go down a couple of grades from wherever they were. They really, it's the activities demonstrate how poor most of us are, in fact, at listening. But if we can improve our listening skills, our communication improves hugely. And what does that mean? Where does it benefit you? What's the point? I'm all right. I've been functioning fine. It's fine. Don't need to listen to this. Don't need to look at this skill set. Won't benefit me further. But actually, that's where we're wrong. Improving our listening skills can improve our selling skills. So if you're in sales of any kind, and most of us are in sales in one way or the other, even if it's not direct salesperson, we are often trying to persuade and influence people, even if it's just as a parent trying to get the buy-in by from our children about something, whether it's bedtime or to get them back to school, which we've got looming at the moment. Certainly my son is not looking forward to that, and I've got to try and sell the idea to him. Most of us have to do some selling of an idea, of our what we'd like to do on Friday night, trying to sell that idea to our husband, a wife, whatever it is. There's some selling going on all the time. We're trying to persuade and influence and encourage and things like that. So listening skills definitely helps selling skills, whether it's out and out absolute selling skills for our career or whether it's inadvertently. It definitely improves coaching. So if you are a coach or you're a counsellor or a therapist, it's fundamental skill actually within coaching and counselling. If you're a manager, it will tremendously benefit your management skills. If you're a parent, without doubt, it will help you. If you're a friend, it will enhance your friendship. If you're a spouse, it will enhance your friendship. If you're a child of, an adult child, and you listen to your parents more, this will help you actually in every walk of life. Now, one or other of those things you've got to fall into one of those categories. So friendships, relationships, everything will benefit by you improving your listening skills. In all walks of life, we're required to listen. If we listen better, we will perform better and we will get better results. So this is a skill set that each and every one of us can benefit from, and it will have a huge impact for sure. So, as I say, you've probably overestimated your skills, and I can't put you through those the activities that I do as a group. It just doesn't work on this podcast, which is a shame. But what would you say? What core elements? What breaks down into listening skills? What would you say is fundamental to listening skills? What does it break down into? Now, this I would get people to sort of write out in their books in the workshop or on Post-it notes and flag them all up on the walls. But what do you think is involved? And also then I get them to list what they think is involved with inadequate listening skills or inadequate listening. Have you ever had a scenario where, I don't know, your spouse, let's say, or your child or your parents say, "You're not listening to me." "Yes, I am." If you've ever had that where you genuinely say to them, "I am listening to you. You said so and so and so and so." What they're saying is they don't feel listened to. You may think you're listening to them as you're washing up the dinner things with your back turned, grunting at the occasional gap in the conversation to acknowledge that you're with them, but they don't feel listened to. And so basically that's inadequate listening. So what is that? Well, what can cause that? Let's think about that. Well, first of all, the classic, if you overhear somebody else having a conversation, let's say you're sat on a bus and there are two people behind you chatting away, two friends chatting away, and you can hear the conversation, or on a train or something like that, and you listen to them. Listen in on them if you can, without it being too nosy or inappropriate. What you'll often hear is one person saying, I had a wicked holiday. We went to so-and-so and so-and-so, and guess, while we were there, this happened and this happened and this happened and da-da-da-da, and they're telling their side. Then you'll immediately hear the other person say, "Oh, that happened to me. We went there. Did you go to it?" And so that it's parallel conversations. The listener was halfway through already thinking of what they were going to chip in. So one of the causes of inadequate listening is a similarity of a story. So it's got similar scenarios, similar past memories, or similarity of problems. So if it's a problem that they're sharing, they're having a good old moan fest about something, their boss or something like that, or their partner or children or whatever it is. The other one, "Yeah, that's how it feels with my children. My son said so and so and so and so." And then the other one replies with, "Well, my daughter says such and such and such." And so there are two, it's called parallel conversations. They're not really fully listening to the speaker. All about that person's world, all about that problem or that challenge or that holiday or that subject. If they were totally 110% absorbed in their world, they would only be talking about that. So they would ask them a question about that holiday. "Gosh, and where did you eat?" Or and where did you stay? Were you in a hotel or whatever? They're still with them on that conversation. They're still with them on their subject matter, and it's still all about them. Or if it's a problem that they're sharing. "And then what did he say? And how did that make him feel? And what did you respond?" etc. They stay with them. So adequate, good listening is staying on their subject. Inadequate is parallel conversations, bringing in their stuff, their agenda. So you've now got two conversations going on. That's so common. Other reasons for inadequate listening might be the physical condition, might be the venue or the place. It could be that there's lots of noise or somebody drilling out in the road outside, or the windows open, cars are going past. It could be that you're on a mobile phone, you can't really hear them, and you're on a train. It could be that you're desperately starving, so you're not listening because you're not focusing and concentrating. It could be that you burst into nip off to the loo. All of those sorts of physical conditions, you can't hear them, for the physical reasons or physiological reasons of your own. So that might be a reason for inadequate listening. And how to overcome that, of course, is to deal with that physical condition that's preventing you from listening. So if you want to improve your listening skills with that one, then you've got to create the right scenario, the right volume of sound, or get off that train and bring them back when you can properly hear, or close the window, or you fulfill your physical needs. Get to the loo, say to them, look, can I just interrupt you for a second? I'm just going to pop to the loo, then I can give you my full attention. So manage in order to improve your listening, manage the physical conditions and improve them. Having your own concerns or your over-eagerness is another reason for inadequate listening. For example, one of the classics is trying to fix the problem. So if they're telling you a problem, having a good old moan, you may feel compelled to jump straight in with an obvious bit of advice. Well, you could do so and so and so and so, and that often isn't the reason they're talking. They're sharing how they feel. They want to hear what they're thinking. They want clarity by saying it out loud and just hearing what their thoughts are. If we jump in with advice or a solution or an answer, we're babysitting them. We've robbed them of the ability of that empowerment to come up with their own solution. We've robbed them of trying to get rid of all their emotions that's involved. We're trying to fix them. And often that can lead into a fallout if it's spouses or parents and kids or something like that. We jump straight in with advice and the solution. That can actually detract from the conversation and end up with a fallout. So our over-eagerness or our wish to make it better can actually be inadequate listening. Another reason why we can sometimes not listen well is because of differences. We may well disagree, not feel comfortable with what they're saying, or disagree with their religious beliefs or political beliefs or morals that they're saying in this conversation or whatever. So again, we jump in with the counter argument instead of properly listening to them. Sometimes in politics, when you're at a dinner party or something like that, and someone starts on a topic and it's completely against your views, the tendency is if you listen at a dinner party, you'll hear that other person immediately counter-argue why they're wrong and why everything they've just said is totally to be dissed, put down and argued with. But actually, by doing that, they miss a huge point. They miss the opportunity to expand their own mind. Instead of, what they could do is, well, that's interesting. What makes you feel that about that political party or about that religious aspect or whatever it is? There's a huge opportunity to actually get into that person's world and to find out what makes them think that, why they feel that. And actually, by doing that, we may have a little bit of a shift of opinion ourselves, or we may confirm our own opinions further. But by listening properly, who knows what we're going to discover? Who knows what little gift there might be there? So the problem when we poorly listen because of differences is that actually our differences can worsen and not get better. Unless we fully listen, and the differences we may find actually there are less differences than we thought. We've actually got more similarities ultimately than we had imagined, but we might miss that by jumping in and getting into a heated debate. And also, as I said, sometimes inadequate listening is because of past memories, similar scenarios. It jogs things for people, it jogs emotions for people. So there are so many ways in which we can be distracted from good listening. When you consider that list of how many factors can come into play, it's not surprising, in fact, that most of us are so poor at listening. And what my key takeaway really today is that I'm pretty sure there will be some room for improvement for all of us, for you listening, for me too. It is a really worthwhile skill. Most of us are poor at it. It's a skill that can be learned and strengthened and improved. And for all the reasons that I've said, all of the relationships and interactions that we have that would benefit as a result, and for all the reasons that can come into play to prove inadequate listening or to encourage inadequate listening, then we really, really, really need to be mindful of our listening. So I hope, if nothing else today, I've kind of alerted you to the fact that listening's actually quite tricky because there are so many possible things that come into play and can influence it and detract from good listening. So if we're aware of those, if now, tomorrow, or today after you've listened to this, you find yourself in an interaction, a communication with someone, a colleague, a loved one, whatever, and you almost jump in with your parallel conversation, it's a chance to, the alarm bell's ringing. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to fully, totally listen to that person and stay with them, even if it's just for one more minute longer, even if it's just to ask them one question about their content and stay on their content, their story, their material, for want of a better phrase, for a little bit longer, just to start building up your listening muscle or your toolkit. So how can you enhance your listening skills? Well, 5 ways. First of all, straight away, that you can take on board that will immediately help you. So the first of these are concentrate with your eyes and your ears. So in communication, you will probably have heard this before. We've got 2 ears and 1 mouth, for example, and we should use those in that ratio. So double the amount of listening to the amount of talking that you do. If you had that rule and that rule alone, it would help you. So listen twice as much as you speak, and listen with both your eyes and your ears. So listening is not just an auditory thing. It's an understanding thing, and you can give the person the clues and cues that you are listening to them by having really good eye contact. Actually, instead of washing up at the kitchen sink, turning around and looking at them, drying your hands and standing there, giving them full face eye contact, so that they know you're listening. Actually sit down with them at the table and listen to your child talking about their day at school, instead of you being at the kitchen preparing food and they're sat there talking and their back's turned to you or yours is turned to them. So even if you just did this twice as much as you're already doing, so on any occasion where possible, you could just down tools and turn your head and look at that person with eyes and listen with your ears, then you're ahead of the game already. Maintain comfortable eye contact is the second one. Not intense eye contact, so it freaks them out, but maintain comfortable eye contact. So if you're driving or something like that, you just look at them a little bit, just occasionally look at them, but give them some eye contact. Or if you're on the bus, you may not want to be staring at them, but you're sat side by side. Or if you're running with them or walking with them, if it's a walking friend, just turn and look at them sometimes rather than just down at your feet. But if you're in an office or over a table or in a coffee shop or something, maintain comfortable eye contact. Not too intense, look down, look away when you're speaking, and break the eye contact and things like that. But do focus on it. If you are sitting or standing with that person, then sit and stand upright, straight. Look interested. Look with your body language as if you are wide awake. You're totally present. You're sat looking interested. You're not slumped. You're not yawning. You're not looking away. You're not fiddling at your phone. That's a terrible one where you're also, we get this, don't we, with our spouses. We're chatting away about our day and they're busy texting or something. It's just such bad listening skills, and it's horrible. And you'll say, are you listening to me? Yes, I'm just sending this text. Keep talking. It's a horrible feeling. So it's sit or stand, looking at them upright, show with your body language that you're interested. And then when you're actually listening to their content, focus on the main theme of what's being said. So the big picture, focus generally on the theme, their issue with their boss, or the terrible journey home, or the fallout they've had with their parent, or whatever it is, or the issue they've got with their project, or the whatever. But rather than the individual words, you don't need to focus on the individual words. You've just got to focus on the overall meaning and theme and stay on that theme. And then just check for clarification, check that you've understood, check the information, check that you've heard it, with some sort of checking statements. Wow, so you're saying you had a shocking journey then? Was it twice as much or 3 times? How much longer did it take to get to work than normal? So staying on that subject and checking it. That was a terrible example for it. By the way, I hadn't actually thought of an example or had one ready, but checking that you've understood. So have I got this right? So you're saying this and this, or so you're saying the problem was that and that, or the main concern was X, Y, and Z. So you've just got to check. So am I right in thinking ... Or I get the feeling you're telling me X, Y, and Z. Or from what you've said, I think I understand he said or she did this, whatever. And so you kind of paraphrase bits of what they've said. They then fully know that you are in that conversation with them. And it's so nice to feel properly listened to. It's such a gift. It's such a rarity these days. But if you can do that, so if you can give good eye contact, keep quiet about your own stuff, stay on their theme, paraphrase a little bit for understanding, look interested, looking at them upright, not slumped, not half asleep, not fiddling with something. Check that you've understood, leave pauses where there's meant to be. So if they're still talking, but they've stopped to get the right word, or they're looking down in the middle of a motion just to sort of add the next sentence to it, you know they've not finished, just leave the silence. It's crucial that you leave the silence and don't jump in and try and rescue them or solve it or change it or interrupt them. Pauses and silences are the kind of icing on the cake. They are absolutely crucial to good listening. Don't jump in. Don't try and rescue somebody. You may feel uncomfortable about the silence, but they're still processing stuff. Do not jump in and try and fill that silence. Work out what the silence is about. Is the silence because they're still thinking of their next thing, or they're feeling what they've just said, or they're remembering something, they're trying to recall something and they haven't finished yet, or if they've got a speech, say a stutter or something, don't try and end it for them, or anything like that. Just stay with them and give them time and silence. Just give them that space. Just let them remember that emotion or that fact or that name place, or what that person then said in reply to what they said, if they're recalling a conversation, things like that. Just leave the silence. Just let them pause. Such a great skill if you can feel comfortable with that. So another thing that people do as well sometimes is they listen with judgment. We call it evaluative listening. They're often listening thinking they're good or they're bad, or they're right or they're wrong, or this is acceptable or it's unacceptable, or they like that person or dislike them, or it's relevant or it's irrelevant. Try your hardest to take out judgment. Just listen. Just understand. Don't try and judge as you're going along. Often when you're judging, that kind of leads you to your next question or your next comment. So again, it's bringing it back to your stuff. So those are little tips there for you to use now in the next week. Practice them. If you take nothing else away from this podcast, it's that there's definite room for improvement. It's definitely worth improving, and it's definitely small steps that you can take. If you're in sales, if you're in management, if you're in parenting, and if you're a good friend, you will find this will help. Stop, listen, stay with them, leave your stuff out of it, leave your content out of it until theirs is finished. Then move separately to yours. Check that you've understood, paraphrase, use their words. Another thing we're taught as coaches is don't change their words, use their language. Then they know that you're not judging them. If you correct the language or use more professional language or more correct Queen's English than their lingo or their slang, then there's an air of judgment there. So it's staying with their language, it's staying with their subject, it's staying with their content. If you can do that, you and your communication and your relationships will be enhanced, will massively improve. Your management skills will improve, your sales skills will improve, and so on. There was a little phrase that I had earlier. I saw a great little phrase. I can't find it at the moment. I'll probably just say it in a minute. It was something like, a good salesperson has good listening skills. A great salesperson has great listening skills. I think that's true too, of a good coach has good listening skills. A great coach has great listening skills. And change that really to anything. A good parent has good listening skills. A great parent has great listening skills. And so on and so. A good friend has good listening skills. A great friend has great listening skills. So do you want to be that person? If so, work on this skill set. It truly is the icing on the cake. It's a great area to personally develop. It's a vital part of your personal growth. It's just a skill set that is definitely worth working on. So for you, for the next week, break it down into key people. So if there's a couple of key people in your life, say you've got a spouse and you've got 2 members in your team, whether it's your manager upwards or whether it's team members or colleagues or your best friend, whoever it is, or your parent, pick 2 or 3 of them for this week and decide what strategy you're going to use. So decide that you're going to use good eye contact, you're going to use good body language, and you're going to stay on their content, not interrupt, and stay on their theme and paraphrase some of it. Use some of their words within your next question or statement. Use their language and see what happens. See how that conversation feels and see where it goes, instead of if you quickly just jump in with your own stuff, your own bad day, your own bad journey, your own holiday experience, or your own grief with your team member, whatever they're doing. Try your best to get over these parallel conversations and enjoy it. See the benefit, and you can have some really good quality conversations as a result. And actually, you can learn so much more from them, find out so much more about them, especially if it's an old person. I'm about to have a coughing fit. Sorry. So go for it, enjoy it, and give it everything you've got. And don't forget, you can always email me and share your successes, share your struggles. The only bit of admin I wanted to announce before I have an absolute breakdown with this coughing fit is, at the time of recording, it is the 23rd of August. Don't forget, we've got the summer sale, the August sale on the website at the moment, where my online training programs, online courses, learning programs, whatever you want to call them, are reduced in August in cost. So if you are interested in purchasing an online program, then it may well be worth doing it now, this next week. You've got just 1 week before the prices go back up to the original. So if you want to bag yourself a bargain, go for it. You've just got 7 days. We're August 2020 at the time of recording. So have a little look on the website, www.milestone-coaching.co.uk. Click on online courses and you can go through the checkout box there and things like that. If you want to talk to me about them, feel free to contact me through the website and we can discuss the content if you want to ask me any questions first, or drop me an email and ask any questions about it first if you want to. I think that's all the admin I wanted to say this week. Thank you so much for listening. If you found this helpful or any of the previous episodes helpful, then please do. All I ask is share it with your friends, because it may well be that they will find a few of the episodes are exactly what they need at the moment. And there is a whole host of them. There's over 63 at least previous episodes out there on a whole array of subjects. So perhaps share it on your social media, put it on Instagram, wherever, or just tell your friends. If they're not into listening to podcasts because they haven't worked out yet how to, and a lot of people haven't, and they don't listen to things via their phone and things like that. If they're proficient though on YouTube, they can listen to it on YouTube. I know that sounds bizarre. You always think of YouTube as viewing something, but you can click on it and it will play out loud. So that they either look for me, Dawn Fiske, or they can look for Milestone Training and Coaching Company, or they can look up YouTube, Dawn Fiske, and Milestone Training podcast. So the podcast itself is called Life Coaching on the Move, so you can just look that up on YouTube, I think. If not, they can go to the website and click on the podcast link, the YouTube podcast link, and just go straight to it. There's all sorts on there. Anyway, apart from that, I will stop now and let you get on with your communication skills and the steps that you're going to take. Have a great, confident week. All the best.